Finally, y'all, I have been talking about this book for so long that it is finally here, my baby, my vision, something that God has definitely given me over the years to write a book about my journey from childhood up to now, which will be probably the last 15, 20 years of my life. So part two, I don't know what part two gonna be about. Maybe that'll be a book with me and my husband. But this book is basically about my life, and it's called A Silent Cry, A Journey to Overcoming Life's Pains and Rejection, where I kind of go into my childhood about traumas. I can kind of go over the contents for you guys. And what I'm talking about is trauma, sexual abuse, the struggle, get money or go down trying, brokenness, the embarrassment, a side piece and a husband, reality, and then I'll end with the healing plan. Honestly, my ultimate goal is to bring healing to those things that we no longer have a opportunity to talk about. I'm so used to being a safe place for a lot of people. And I believe that my book is going to open those conversations to help people to feel comfortable having those conversations, getting to the root of trauma, pain, rejection. I believe that I've lived a long journey, a long lifestyle, having to overcome those things, which has qualified me to put it in a book for people to get insight, to know that if you can look to me for inspiration, you can also learn from my journey. When in life, we can look at people just from eye, but you don't know a book until you read its story. And that's the way you can look at people too. Like, you don't know a person until you really just sit down and listen and learn about them. So you can know, okay, if you overcame this, how can I? You know, this just goes like to the saying when people say, how can I get to know Jesus? With your lifestyle, with the light that you bring into the room, with who you are as a person and all that you have accomplished and all that you've gone through, how can I? So I was like, okay, let me put it in a book. Give people insight. I'm already in the public eye anyway, so I was just like, let me just give people insight of my world, of what's going on, so a lot of people can also get a better understanding of who I actually am as a person. Honestly, one of the greatest challenges of writing this book was actually getting it done, because life can life. And it's like you'll start something, then writer's block will come, or something that just happened in life. I honestly started writing this book, I know, about 7, 8 years ago. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, in order for me to get where God is constantly showing me, because God will give you open visions. And I'm like, okay, God, in order for me to get there, I got to start somewhere. I got to build the platform up. And growing up, if you were to ever ask me, what did you want to be growing up? And I would always say, help people, travel the world, ministering my story. Okay, how? You got to have something to give to people. So I was like, okay, I got to get this done. And my book has been passed down to so many hands. I've spent thousands on my book just trying to get it out. And when I finally came across someone who actually published it, wrote it, proofread and edited and everything, I knew that she was going deep into my story. Like, you know how somebody can be reading your book? I knew, because I started having vivid dreams about my childhood traumas that started occurring out of nowhere. And so I was like, she is actually learning my life. She's really taking on my identity going through those phases, because my dreams were just too vivid. And I'm like, oh my God. So I can only imagine this going to the world and people reading. And because that's how I wanted my book to feel. I wanted people to read it and see themselves right in that moment. I was so detailed. She was like, okay, you got to consider your husband and some of the stuff that you got in this book. Like, you talking about, you know, your ex-husband and how he did this and that. And she was like, you know, you might want to ask him. And I was like, it's my book. I'm like, he wasn't in my life doing this, but I was very considerate. And a lot of things she did edit, but I was so detailed because I wanted people to feel. I don't want it to be another book where you just read and like, oh, okay. No, I actually want you to read and be like, I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to go through that. I know what it's like to feel or find out your spouse cheating or going through that verbal and mental abuse or going through molestation and rape and stuff like that. I wanted people to actually see themselves in my shoes during those times and moments. Ooh, that's a good question. If I would had to describe it. Overcoming. I would definitely say overcoming because a lot of people simply don't know. When you look at me, people see the size, they see the platforms, but you don't actually know. You don't know what I've had to see and go through and grow through, honestly, because a lot of things that people go through in life, it hinders them. They get stuck in those places. Or trauma can make you be stagnant. Trauma can make you, be in a place where there's no healing. But I have a love about me that I always glorify from. A heart that no matter what I went through, it kept on loving. It loved even the more. No matter what the pain. I have to say now I'm used to pain. When things happen, especially on a Jesus walk, you have to understand that Jesus went through so much pain, but he still understood love, the fruits of the Spirit. And so to overcome, that's why I said overcoming, because I am the epitome of overcoming. No matter what I loved, I didn't get stuck in unforgiveness. I didn't get stuck in bitterness. I didn't get stuck in hatred. But I just knew that, okay, God, if I want your heart and your mind for real, I literally have to take on the mindset and the heart of Jesus. Not just for me, but for people. Because when it comes to dealing with people, people are who they are. But I've had to learn through pain and rejection that my ultimate goal is to be more like Jesus. When is it coming out? I'm working on some things. Like I'm big on how making people feel, because we can release all type of things, but I'm so set apart and I'm extra. Y'all know I'm extra. That I actually want, when I pop out with my book, I want it to be a feeling of, oh my God, I want to read this. Like, I want people to be so tuned in, because I'm like that in real life. If I'm watching something, it got to catch my attention. You got to keep me woke so I can be like, oh yeah, I got to watch this. It got to be some action. Matter of fact, that's what it is. I'm about an action person. So if it got to have some action to it. So when I pop out, I'm trying to come out with a whole little mini movie to pop out my book. So yes, I'm just so happy that I finally can hold my book in my hands, because it wasn't easy. And I believe the warfare of it all was because the enemy knows that people's lives are going to be transformed through my book. That was my ultimate goal. And again, a dream of mine. This is literally me holding my dream, because I will always say I want to travel the world ministering my story to help people be an aid for God, because I'm not God, but I want to help people transform their lives for the better. Honestly, my book, I have gone through so many names with this book. A Silent Cry was always my first name, though, honestly, when I first started. Exploring the mind. Like, I'm talking about so much darkness that by the end of my today's journey, my mind done blossomed in so many areas, whether it's from maturity, growing, or just allowing myself to think outside of the box. And plus, I'm a very visionary person. I think outside the box. Everything I do got to be something outside of the box. So the flowers was kind of like me showing a outward experience of what's going on inwardly. So when you look, even with the title being A Silent Cry, I came up with that simply because in everything that you're going to read, I went through it alone. I didn't have nobody to talk to. I didn't have nobody to get it out to. So it was a silent cry. It wasn't a crying out loud. It was something where even today, there's a lot of people going through something behind closed doors that nobody knows about. And that was once me. Nobody knew that I was in that apartment, going through that I was going through. Nobody knew that I was being molested. Nobody knew that I was being raped. or anything along that line. So it was a silent cry for me. Like, I had to cry and still show up and be strong for everybody else. I had to cry but still be that person for everybody. Show up making everybody laugh and making everybody be comfortable, or making be a safe place for so many people. Yet all along I was silently crying, you know. And so that's how I came up with the title. But the flowers are also showcasing that I still, in those moments, I remember Tyler Perry in his documentary when he was talked about, and he showed how he went under the house and he would sit there for hours just envisioning life on the other side. That literally was me. I would lay for hours with my eyes closed, envisioning myself on platforms, envisioning myself on TV. Another secret about me is I would also lay for hours writing plays in my head. Like, I would create different scenes in my head just laying for hours. So when he said that, I was like, I thought I was the only one who was doing stuff like that. So what the flowers are actually showing is that how I allow my mind to really expand and blossom. And ultimately, something beautiful came out of it. You know, I was considered the child that was the worst child. I was considered that child that always fighting, cussing, getting kicked out of here. You know, everywhere I went, I was a problem. To where now people see me like, wow, her life look what she has become. You know, look where she's at now, where she's allowed herself to just blossom. So that's where it all stemmed from. May the tears you sow, you shall reap in joy. So, and I will always quote that scripture. So that is actually a good revelation. The tears you sow, you're going to reap in joy. And my joy is definitely this book, being able to get into the hands of so many women. And I consider myself very relatable. I know I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, all that. I'm a seasoned saint. But when it comes to dealing with real life people in today's world, I don't come off holier than thou. Yes, I know. I understand. Yes, I'm holy. I don't do what you do. I understand. But I respect you. It's about respect. If we're going to really grab people, you got to respect people. I'm not expecting people to come in on my level because I'm a seasoned saint. I'm relatable, and that's what I love about myself. And people do too. They tell me all the time, one thing about you, you don't judge us. You can come in here smoking, drinking, just don't do all that cussing. Y'all know Auntie a little old. But I'm not going to judge you because I understand that I had to go on a journey before I could even get to where I'm at mentally, emotionally. I had my own journey. And so I'm not expecting people to automatically just know. So with this book, it's building a platform for me to really just meet people where they are and disciple people. I'm truly understanding that we have to disciple people to get them to that true healing, or to even talk about the root of problems. We're constantly dealing with the surface and not dealing with the root of it. So that's my ultimate goal, is to bring healing to so many women who are still stuck at the little girl. I had to go on, with my book, it taught me that I had to go on a journey to heal the little girl so that she could feel safe, because the little girl was violated. And a lot of us are in grown women bodies, but stuck at a little girl's mindset. I'm on a journey, a healing journey, to release healing to so many others.